around 8 years ago, when I first started to research the subject of dietary fats and cholesterol in more detail, I was still working as a personal trainer and a nutritionist. And I found that when you try to implement a low-fat diet with your clients, it really doesn't produce the results that you're looking for. And when you're working sort of with individual clients on a day-to-day basis, then you really have to find what really works for the client. And when you find that the low-fat diet doesn't work for most people, then of course you reopen the books and start to do your own research with a more open mind to find what really does work for people. And then you realize that there's just so much evidence contrary to what is called the diet heart hypothesis. So the idea that eating fats, in particular saturated fats, will raise cholesterol levels, and saturated fats and cholesterol in the bloodstream will somehow clog up the arteries and lead to a heart attack. And there was never really any solid scientific foundation for that idea. It's still called a hypothesis because it is exactly that. It's just a hypothesis, an idea that was never actually proven. And there were of course a number of stages in the development of the hypothesis, but many people point to a researcher called Ansel Keys, who in 1953 published the now infamous 6 countries study, where he plotted on a straight line the 6 countries where they had if there was an increase in the amount of dietary fat in that country, then there was also an increase in the risk for heart disease or heart disease deaths. It turned out that he omitted 16 countries. He had data for 22 countries available to him, and if he plotted the data for all of those countries, there certainly wasn't any straight line linear relationship at all. There was no relationship to be seen between dietary fat intake and risk for heart disease or dying from heart disease. So that was, unfortunately, Ansel Keys was incredibly influential around that time, and his idea was widely adopted, and then eventually the pharmaceutical industry developed medications that can lower cholesterol levels, and the whole thing has got so out of control now, and these so-called facts about the diet heart hypothesis are repeated over and over again, and very few people actually stop to look back at the scientific evidence to justify it. But those people that do very quickly realize that we're being misled,